Greetings, class. Welcome to chapter 20, developing a feedback rich environment. Now, think for a moment, if you're driving to a place where you do not have a full view on the terrain by which you're driving, the speed limit that you should be driving, whether there are cops on the way or police on the way, whether there is storm, rain, hail. So these are all feedback that comes back to the driver. So the driver can adjust the driving based on this feedback. So now when it comes to leadership, if you're working with a team, as a team, where feedback was rare, it is very tough. People will be working hard, but without any feedback, they have no idea whether they're on the right track. The reason why we dread feedback is we process feedback as something against us. But once you reach a stage of mental maturity in such a way that feedback is nothing but a GPS signal that is coming to you so that you know how to drive, what speed, because sometimes in some roads, 30 miles per hour is a speed that is possible. If you drive in 100 miles per hour, you are in jail. So it doesn't matter the capabilities that you bring to the table. It is how you utilize those capabilities to fit with the audience, to fit with the context. So knowing the audience, knowing the situation, knowing the context is the only way by which you can streamline your performance. And those signals coming back to you are simply the feedback mechanics. So if mistakes are repeated, tensions are built between teams, between individuals, between groups, growth opportunities are missed, all of those would be the direct reflections if there is missing feedback. So if there is a freely flowing feedback, both positive reinforcement and constructive suggestions, that team will be more connected, more productive, and more resilient. That's the difference between feedback-rich environments and zero feedback. Feedback is not about once in a calendar year performance reviews. Feedback-rich environment is about creating a culture where conversations about improvement happens on a daily basis. So research shows that when you go through an environment or a situation where employees receive feedback on a more frequent basis, they will be more engaged, they will be more motivated, they will be more likely to stay with the organization. In healthcare especially, feedback, if it is not provided, it can impact patient safety because we are dealing with life and death situations. It can impact team performance. It can impact employee morale. It can impact quality of the healthcare that is delivered. Let's imagine a surgical team. After every procedure, they debrief, pointing out what went well and what could be improved. So that habit, it doesn't just build exceptional surgeons, but it saves lives. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Changing a feedback culture is hard. Leaders fear giving feedback because they don't want to hurt feelings. And employees hesitate to receive because it feels personal. But when the same leaders model openness, model vulnerability, starting small, giving immediate feedback after a meeting or a project, it begins to normalize feedback as a growth tool rather than critique. So if you don't get promoted because of the feedback, if you get lower performance scores because of the feedback, if you get chewed out because of as a feedback, then you naturally resist, naturally fear, naturally have a different vibe for the feedback, because every feedback result in an experience, a negative experience. So personally for you, you have to train yourself, you have to condition yourself in how you process this feedback. The leader should not tie a feedback with a negative phenomenon, whatever the case may be. The feedback is just a feedback. The feedback shouldn't result in all of these different negative norms that we typically experience in our workplace. If we thrive in a feedback-rich environment where we receive feedback after every project, after every meeting, after a key presentation, then those feedback will help us improve. But if I have to wait until 12 months to receive a feedback and know that my performance scores are low, my promotion opportunity is gone, then why do I need feedback? I don't want feedback. If that is the environment that you are part of, what I would suggest is you be open and proactive. You demonstrate that vulnerability. You reach out to the audience who are judging or who can judge. Seek feedback. Seek feedback in writing, seek feedback in verbal, seek feedback through different communication means, so that you have all of the different information with you, so that you will be able to go to the next step by realizing the blind spots. So as we dive into this chapter, we have to underline feedback is not criticism. It is all about growth. It is about creating an environment where staff can talk openly about failures and successes, and using those conversations as stepping stones towards excellence. Let's take a look at spot debrief sessions. This is one of the powerful tools for building a feedback-rich culture. Think of it as a feedback pit stop. It's a quick, focused, and right after an event, while performance and all the dramas that happened is still fresh. Imagine a hospital code blue response. A team rushes to revive a patient. Everybody has a series of activity to take care. A leader will be born automatically. And after the emergency ends, everyone goes back to their day. Without a debrief, valuable learning opportunities are lost. But if the team takes just 5 minutes immediately afterward to ask, what went well? What could be improved next time? Those insights become actionable. Over time, these quick check-ins sharpen the skills and reduce the errors. So spot debriefs are very effective, but it's not just for healthcare. It is practiced by so many other industries. So I would think the US military pioneered this approach after every combat missions, realizing fully that the immediate reflection built stronger teams and saved lives. So in business, Google uses this as mini post-mortem sessions after the product launch or even team meetings, turning every project into learning opportunity. So the strength of these sessions lie in their simplicity. It's not focused on an individual. That's the biggest thing. You're not saying he is good, she is bad, or she is good, he is bad. No. The focus is on reflection of what went well. The focus on what can be done differently next time. See, I said what, I didn't say who. So it becomes a learning opportunity for everyone, irrespective of who did what. The entire focus is only on what. Who doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, it's a teamwork. Every team, if they know what has to be done, when it should be done, and how it should be done, then the team is a hippo or a high performance team. So typically these feedback sessions are leader facilitated, or it can be a peer driven, or even if nothing works, do a self-assessment. What matters most is that they happen consistently. Over time, they normalize feedback as part of your culture, as part of the workflow, not just an afterthought. So don't wait for annual reviews or formal evaluations. Build in quick, everyday feedback loops, very similar to athletes who review their performance after each game, different professionals in healthcare, businesses. And if it becomes part of the culture, it can accelerate growth by pausing, reflecting, and improving right away. So now we said spot debriefs are quick pit stops. Then after event reviews or AERs, they are the full service checkup. AERs are structured, reflective sessions designed to really unpack what happened during a major event or a project. AERs now have their roots in the military, where after action reviews became standard practice to capture lessons after missions. Soldiers would gather, regardless of rank, and answer four simple but profound questions. What did we want to achieve? What actually happened? What caused the difference between the two? What can we do next time to improve? Four powerful questions. And all of these reviews is not about blame. They were all about learning. And the same approach applies in healthcare, business, and education. So in MD Anderson, in my workplace, for instance, there are different teams who conduct clinical trials, and they run structured AERs. They examine systematically what worked, patient recruitment, different strategies, different ways they analyze the data, the IRB approvals. IRB means Institutional Review Board. How did they deliver the consent, the appointments, and what did they learn from that research? All of these are used to redesign this whole workflows for future events. So in business, in the corporate world, even in a healthcare world, from an administration perspective, product launch, technology, process, operational workflows. So either a full-scale product launch or a quality program improvement or a process redesign or any type of project. If something goes wrong, instead of sweeping it under the rug, you run an AER to break down what went wrong. Did they miss the customer request or customer need? Was the rollout too fast? And by doing this openly, the organization transform mistakes into blueprints for success. Here is a key difference between spot debriefs and AERs. AERs are formal, scheduled, and typically it involves deeper analysis. They are powerful because they are not just what happened, but also to understand why it happened. And they make sure lessons are shared widely so the whole system improves, not just one team. So in a nutshell, leaders who embrace AERs demonstrate humility and commitment to learning. They show that every event, good or bad, is an opportunity to sharpen strategy, strengthen their teams, and ultimately deliver better results. So one of the biggest challenges in leadership development is that people often use different words to describe the same behaviors. One manager may say someone is collaborative. Another one might call as a team player. A third one might describe good at partnership, so on and so forth. So we don't have a shared language. And without a shared language, it's very hard to measure performance consistently. So that's where developing a shared competency language becomes very powerful. It's like creating a common dictionary that everyone in the organization understands and uses. Just as doctors worldwide rely on standardized medical terms like hypertension, diabetes, malignancies, to avoid confusion, leaders also need a shared definition for competencies like communication, collaboration, innovation, accountability, so on and so forth. In large academic medical centers, the Leadership Institute, the Leadership Academy, and the training of all of these leaders is aligned with bringing those common shared competency language into picture. If one of their competencies is patient-centered communication, every leader knows what that means. Not only they know what that means, how it is measured, and how it ties to outcomes like patient satisfaction scores. The language is clear, consistent, and actionable. In contrast, if the departments within an organization or teams within a department makes up their own definitions. Imagine an employee moving from finance to operations. In one area, innovation means cutting cost creatively, while in another area, it means adopting a new technology. What would be the result? Confusions, frustration, evaluations misaligned, employee disengagements. The ship cannot sail true north. So shared competency language solves that problem. It sets standards that promotes transparency, fairness, clarity, reduce the conscious and unconscious bias. It makes feedback more effective. So employees understand what success looks like. Leaders can coach consistently, and human resources can design development programs that actually stick. So the takeaway in this concept is very simple. When organizations speak the same leadership language, they not only build strong leaders, but also create culture where everyone is aligned, engaged, and move in the same direction. Imagine you're part of a rowing team. Everyone is strong, motivated, and rowing hard. So this is something which we have to keep in mind. Every employee wants to do their best. There is no second thought on it. I have yet to meet an employee who just wants to screw up. Everyone wants to make sure that they do their best. But if half of the team is rowing towards left bank, while the half is aiming towards right, you can imagine the chaos. And that's what happens when individual goals are not shared. People may be working hard, but not necessarily working together. So sharing individual goals is about creating transparency. When people know what their colleagues are aiming for, now they can align their efforts, they can spot opportunities to collaborate, and even hold each other accountable. It will turn scattered efforts into collective progress. So, in our large academic medical center, when new initiatives are rolled out, like maybe patient access improvement, different clinical quality programs, implementing a new technology system, so the leaders don't just set isolated goals, they share them broadly across the teams. So department like operations, analytics, and patient services can now see how their work connects. Their openness prevents duplication and it builds momentum. But here is the tricky part. Sometimes individuals hesitate to share goals because they fear judgment. A leader might worry, what if I don't hit my target? What if I cannot achieve this goal? What if I miss the goal and I miss the bonus? And that's where a culture of trust becomes extremely critical. When shared goals are framed as a way to support one another, not to take incentives away, not to shame anyone, the result are powerful. A manager who shares their goal of improving staff engagement can invite colleagues to provide feedback or ideas. So instead of struggling alone, they gain allies. And when they succeed, it becomes a shared victory. So when goals are out in the open, they stop being just a personal checklist. It becomes the organizational commitment. Now think about these goals tied to the purpose of the department, the vision for the organization. So it becomes fully aligned with the strategic theme, the mission and vision, and how each of those departments can work together to achieve it. And that creates alignment, build trust, and accelerate progress. Let's think about a music orchestra. Every instrument in the orchestra is valuable. So you have violins, drums, flutes. And many times we have seen this before the concert begin. They all tune their instrument to the same pitch. If one section plays off key, the whole performance suffers. So the same principle applies in organizations. Performance calibration ensures that everyone is being measured by the same standard, not playing by different rules. So performance calibration is about fairness and consistency. Without it, two people in different departments could be doing similar work, but they might receive very different evaluations. One might get glowing praises, while the other hears only criticism. That doesn't feel like fair. It erodes trust. So when leadership reviews performance across divisions, they have to hold calibration sessions where managers discuss ratings together. If one leader rates everyone outstanding, while another is overly critical, those differences come out in that group discussion, and the manager gets an opportunity to adjust it. the result would be a balanced, fair approach that reflects true performance and not just the manager's personal bias. Let's take a practical example. Let's take an analyst, a system analyst, working in different units. Both delivered reports on time. They contributed towards innovative ideas. Both these analysts, in order for them to generate reports, they have to understand the question. They have to go gather data from different sources. They have to do a long, laborious cleanup of the data. They have to analyze the data to build stories. They have to create reports which communicate stories quantitatively or qualitatively. They might have to create a paper, or they might have to create like a presentation. They might have to think about different ways by which this can be done differently. So they go through a whole set of hard, time-consuming brain exercises. So if one manager exceeds expectations to one, and to another, if that analyst gets only meets expectation, it's only the calibration session that would help correct it. Otherwise, you have a happy analyst on one department and a disengaged analyst on the other department. And the two managers have two different performance measurement stick, which is not calibrated. So leaders have to come together. They need to align their definition of performance and ensure that employees are recognized fairly. And that is very important because employees would see fairness as building the credibility. People stop worrying about favoritism and start focusing on performance. And if leaders gain a clearer picture of who their true performers are, then making promotions, bonuses, and development opportunities become more accurate. So performance calibration is like tuning the instruments in orchestra. Once it is done correctly, then it creates harmony, fairness, and a fun enjoyment session, ensuring that the whole team can now perform at their best. Imagine you're running a relay race. You don't just focus on the runners on the track, you also think about who is waiting with that baton for the next leg. That's what talent reviews are all about. Identifying who is ready now, who will be ready soon, and who needs more development. It's very simple. Talent reviews have to be regular, structured meetings where leaders come together to assess employee potential and readiness. They are not just about who is performing well today. They're about who could take bigger responsibilities tomorrow. And in healthcare, it is very critical. Talent reviews are essential for succession planning. If a department leader or a chair or a senior leader retires, you want to be confident that there is someone prepared to step up as seamlessly without disrupting the patient care or project flow or strategy and all of those things. Now, let's be honest. These sessions often feel intimidating. No one likes the idea of being rated or discussed behind closed doors. That's why the top leadership support and transparency are very important. When leaders set the tone that the reviews are about development and opportunity, not criticism, employees would begin to trust the process. For example, in one organization, leaders openly share how the talent review process worked, even showing employees a specified version of maybe like a 9-box grid used to assess the performance and potential. And that transparency transformed the process from something scary that is unknown into a tool for career planning. In short, talent reviews are about future proofing the organization. They help leaders ask who is ready now, who can we prepare for the next role, and how do we ensure that when change happens, when it is retirement, turnover, or expansion, we have the right pipeline ready for people to lead the way. Let's imagine you're driving a car, but you only have your front windshield. You would see what is directly ahead, but you would miss all of the blind spots. Now imagine you're adding side mirrors and a rear view mirror, maybe even a backup camera. Suddenly, you are empowered with a much clearer, safer perspective. And that's what 360-degree feedback is all about. Instead of hearing only from your supervisor, you get input from multiple sources. You get input from peers, you get input from direct reports, you get input from supervisors or even clients. So this multi-angle view provides a more balanced picture of your strength and areas of growth. A physician leader might think they are doing well because his boss praises their research output. But when they paid attention to the clinical staff, they might discover opportunities to improve communication during the patient rounds. That's a perspective that wouldn't get from the top-down view alone. So the process is a several-step process. First, defining the participants and goals. Are you evaluating leadership behaviors, communication, teamwork? Next, you need to create like a survey, few questions, which is aligned with the goal. Then managing the process carefully to ensure confidentiality, privacy. Trust is extremely important. And finally, gathering the reviewers, preparing the reports, conducting the follow-ups. So feedback will translate into real growth. The strength of 360 feedback is in its multiple perspectives. There is a weakness too. The drawback of 360 feedback, it will bring bias or an overload. If the feedback isn't framed constructively, it would feel like criticism. Imagine you're getting 20 page of comments. The employee may not know where to start. So it is very important to have a skilled facilitator with you who can help you focus on the key themes coming out of this feedback. So when used well, 360-degree feedback gives a full panoramic view of the performance. And always imagine performance is, or feedback is not about perfection. There is no perfection in this game. I don't think you can call a leader as a perfect leader. It's all about constant learning and growth. You enjoy the journey. You do not think about a final stop. The journey is the most important thing. Every feedback is one piece of information by which you can calibrate your journey. It's all about seeing yourself as others see you, and then using that so that you can lead you and the team more effectively. So feedback without following up is like planting seeds, but not watering them. So nothing grows. For feedback to matter, it must lead to a meaningful action, which means once results are gathered, leaders and staff should work together to develop, to set a clear developmental plan or a growth plan. Developmental plan might have a negative connotation. You can name it as a growth plan. And that growth plan would have definite action when over a period of time would address the issue that surfaced in 360-degree feedback. So equally important is that the leaders model openness by discussing their own results. So imagine a senior executive in your team says, oh, here is something I learned from my feedback, and here is how I am working on it. It would automatically send a powerful message that this is part of the organizational culture and it's not about punishment. It's about growth. So this vulnerability will lower the defenses and ensures others to do the same. And finally, consistency is what turns one-off feedback session into a true feedback-rich culture. It's not about doing once a year, like a performance review. It's about weaving feedback into the rhythm of the organization. It's not for one person, it's for the entire organization. Everyone goes through it. Performance feedback, project debrief, mentoring conversations, team huddles. So when feedback becomes a routine, trust is a natural thing that will build up. The performance improves. People would feel safe to give feedback and receive it. Now let's wrap up chapter 20 with a few key takeaways. Number one, high quality, consistent feedback is one of the strongest driver for improvement. It's like a compass that keeps individuals and teams aligned towards their goals. Without it, people drift. With it, they grow. Creating a culture of feedback, it's not easy. It takes effort, it takes persistence. More importantly, I would say it takes courage. Leaders must keep showing up. They should have those conversations, even it feels uncomfortable. It's easy when you have comfortable situations. Think about it. First time you introduce spot debriefs after a clinical shift, people will be hesitant. But the 10th time, 20th time, 100th time, it becomes part of a rhythm. Staff might even look forward to a spot debrief because it helps them get better. They realize that there's no punishment at the end of the day. It's an opportunity that I get what I should do differently so that I can be a better employee, a better leader. Feedback should not only highlight what went wrong, but also what went right. It should start with what went right. Then it can touch on what went wrong or how can we improve it. And when you close the feedback, it should be on a positive tone, inspiring and energizing the staff so that they are excited to go to the next step. I remember in early days when I met Dr. M. Santosh. He's my guru, he's my leader, he's my mentor. I actually wrote a scientific paper. I was so excited about the 5-page scientific paper, and I went to him. He looked at the paper. He appreciated every line of what I was thinking, how I presented, the structure. And while he is saying all of this, he was correcting those lines. I finished the session. My inspiration went through the roof. Imagine he's a well-known scientist. So I came out of his office and I looked at my paper. He corrected every line in the paper. There is not even a single line which didn't need a correction. But not even a second, I felt insulted. I felt out of the space. I felt inadequate to become a scientist. I truly felt that I am on a roadmap to become a great scientist. So I model my feedback based on what I learned from Dr. M. Santosh. We in fact say that it's Santosh's lab. Santosh's lab have produced scientists now flourishing in different countries at different career steps. So feedback should always be an excellent opportunity where you connect with the employee, you understand where the employee is coming from, you know their aspirations, and you're building on their aspirations and course correcting. Imagine tumor board discussions. After a tumor board discussion, knowledge what worked well in collaboration, what may be a missed step, what could be done differently to improve those discussions. And this balance would keep the morale strong and the learning process as continuous. And finally, we must recognize that discomfort is always part of the journey. Giving and receiving feedback stretches people. But that stretch is what makes the team stronger, more resilient, and ultimately more capable of delivering exceptional care and leadership. So it's very, very important. The feedback delivery mechanics happens consistently, happens regularly, so that it can produce a growth rich, feedback rich environment is a growth enriched environment. It's a culture, it's a practice, it's a mindset. When it is done well, it transforms individuals as well as organizations. Thank you, class.